What's up, everybody? Hopefully all of you are doing well. Today we're going to be doing a classic combination of steak and shrimp, but it's going to be coming together in the form of a chili. We're going to be making my steak and shrimp chili, or AKA a surf and turf chili. And to make this recipe even easier on us, we're going to be using the crock pot. Let's go on and get started. To start the recipe off, we need a good cut of steak. I'm going to be using New York strip steak, but you can also use ribeye or even filet mignon, whatever is on sale at the grocery store. Get it. What I'm going to do is take the steaks and cut them into 1/2-inch size cubes. Raw meat cuts much easier when it's nice and cold right out of the fridge, so that's why I'm taking care of that first. For the exact measurements to this recipe, check out gdseasoning.com. The link will be below the video in the description area. So let's move on to our spices and other add-ins to the chili. Starting at the bottom of the screen, we have some oregano, cumin, coriander, some dried thyme, tomato paste, a bay leaf, celery, bell pepper, garlic, and some onion. I decided to go with 2 types of chili powder. I have my standard dark chili powder, and I'm going to go with some chipotle powder. It's going to make it nice and spicy. Finally, I got a couple of tablespoons of GDS, which you can find on the website with this recipe, and some diced tomatoes. Now what I'm going to do is just take some of my Grand Diamond all-purpose seasoning and sprinkle some of that over the steak because we're going to brown the meat first. This is my habit. You don't necessarily have to do this, but I always brown my meats before I put them into the crock pot. It just adds another layer of flavor. So let's go ahead and do that, and a couple of tablespoons of oil over medium-high heat. While I was at it, I also threw the bones into the pan because I figured why not? They still had a little bit of meat on them, and it's nothing wrong with throwing those bones into the crock pot because they're going to add more flavor anyway. So I thought that was a good idea at the last minute. All right, once all your meat is browned up, now you can just put everything into the crock pot. Make it real easy. Here's a tip for those of you who really want to use the crock pot to your advantage. Go ahead and put everything into the crock pot and do this the night before. Let's say you got to go to work the next day. I'm just going to use an example of another video I did previously, and I'll link that below. I'm going to add my red beans and all of my bell pepper and onions to the insert. You notice the insert is not in the heating element. I'm just putting everything in there. I'm going to put the lid on it, and it's going into the refrigerator. The next morning before I go to work, then I'll add my liquid, drop it in, and I'll put it on low. So the same example applies here. Finally, I'm just going to add my brown steak and those bones, and then pour in my beef stock. I need you guys to do yourselves and me a favor by reading the recipe all the way through, because there is where I'm going to show you how to control the thickness or the thinness of your chili by the amount of liquid you add. Here you guys are going to see me add about 1 teaspoon to 1.5 teaspoons of sugar, and I'm just going to mix that in because it's going to balance out all that tomato paste, those diced tomatoes, and those 2 chili powders that I used. It's still going to be spicy, it's not going to be sweet, but it is going to hang in the background and balance everything out. Here's what the chili looks like about 8 or 9 hours later. I love this recipe because it's so forgiving. If you leave it in there for 8 or 9 hours, it's still going to be fantastic. I'm just going to season up my shrimp, and these are size 21s to 25s. You can actually get away with size 31 to 40. These were particularly big, but you can use a smaller shrimp. Just drop them on in the chili, put the lid back on for about 10 minutes or so, and you can serve it with whatever you want. You can do rice, you can do cornbread, you could just serve it with crackers. It's up to you. I decided to serve it with rice, and it was so good. This was actually perfect because I had just come home from work and I was definitely hungry. Usually I pass my recipes on to family. Well, they didn't get this bowl. I topped it with some onions and a little bit of cheese. You can just top this chili with your favorite toppings. If you want to put a little dab of sour cream, that's fine. Some bacon would be awesome too, because steak, shrimp, and bacon go well together. Thank you guys so much for cooking with me and hanging out. You know I appreciate it. Don't forget this recipe and others can be found at gdseasoning.com. And I'll see you guys next time.